So welcome to this workshop on building bone strength. So what you'll need for this workshop is you'll need a chair, which will be great. And you also something like a belt or a strap or a scarf or something like that, just to help stretch out for our hamstrings and to create a little bit of support just to lengthen your arms. So with the bones are sort of living. So often we see bones, we see them, they're dead. They're no longer in a living body. So we very rarely see bones in a living body. So bones are an intricate lattice work of live cells, and they're constantly being remodeled. So depending on what we do, we can remodel the bones. And so bones, say the arm of a tennis player, the bones are stronger in the arm that they're more likely to be hitting the racket with than maybe the other arm. So we know that we can stimulate bones. So we can build bone strength at any time. And we have different cells that help to build the bone. The cells that are building bone mass are called osteoblasts. And then we have, and osteoblasts are building mass and strength. And then we have osteoclasts, which digest any old and injured bone and send proteins and minerals back into the bloodstream. So what can we do in yoga to help strengthen our bones? There are a few things that we can do in yoga. First of all, muscular stimulus. So if you imagine, in fact, I use this strap to show. So if you imagine that, your muscle is attaching at two various points on a body. When we stretch out the muscle, that tugging on the bone, so muscles attached by a tendon to the bone, that tugging on the bone, that stimulates the osteoblast. So that stimulates our bone building cells. And so we are stimulating bone growth anytime we stretch, which is really good news if you're doing yoga, because there are lots of things, and we'll just explore today. What is it we do that actually helps to strengthen our bones? Or what is it that we actually do that we can feel the muscle stretching? We're also going to look at, so muscular stimulus is really important because of the stress that it places on the bones. Also, any force applied to bone helps to build more bone. So anytime we're balancing, for example, if you're balancing on standing on one leg, you've got double the body weight going down through that leg. So you've got more force on that bone. And again, we know that bone responds to any force applied to it. So any force applied to the bone is going to build more bone strength. So balancing is a good example. And often in yoga, we end up balancing maybe on our shins or on our hands. We'll have a look at that today. So there'll be force placed on different areas and different bones that will be stimulating those bone cells to develop more mass and more strength in the bone. So balancing and weight bearing. We also know we've got gravity. So we know that from astronauts that went first into space, that when they came back from space, they'd lost a lot of their bone density because they didn't have the weight, the force of gravity pushing down on the bones, which is also interesting because it means that we can use gravity sometimes to help stimulate the bones. So sometimes just moving slowly, like we might be raising an arm and then lowering an arm really slowly, because at the moment when you're lowering your arm slowly, gravity's pushing your arm down and you're kind of resisting that push that wants to push your arm down. You're resisting that. So even going against gravity can help to build bone strength. So we'll be looking at muscular stimulus, balance, using gravity to help us, and then just placing force on different bones throughout the body. Now, one of the important things that we want to look at, and one of the first things we'll do today, or one of the first things, we're actually going to start with something else, is look at our neutral spine. So our spine is always at its strongest when we're in a neutral curves of our spine. So that means when your spine isn't rounding or sort of overarching. So when you find your spine in neutral, this is where your spine is at your strongest. So a couple of the things that you may have heard that you need to avoid when you're practicing yoga, if you have any metastases to bones, or you have osteopenia or osteoporosis, which is weakening of the bones. You might have been told to avoid forward bends, or you might have been told to avoid twisting. Well, we don't avoid these poses or avoid these movement patterns because they're really important for normal life. We need to forward fold to maybe tie our shoelaces, and we might need to twist to look behind us to cross a road or to just look out for dangers. So we are often twisting and forward folding in our natural, normal, everyday life. What we want to do is twist or fold, keeping that neutral spine. So we want to avoid kind of rounding. And actually what we need to be mindful of is that often a big part of our day is spent with our spine naturally rounded. So we're going to look at keeping a sort of neutral spine when you're seated or when we're moving, so that you're keeping that. And then when we come into forward folds, we're going to fold at the tops of the thighs, and we're just going to try and keep that same natural curve of the spine. And so often for forward folds, we're going to have to bend our knees. That's how we're going to get closer to the floor. So rather than bending your spine, we're going to look at how we can bend our knees or use props. So we've got the chair here for props. Same thing when we're twisting. When we're twisting, we want to find maximum length in our spine. If you imagine your vertebrae stacked like this, like building blocks, one on top of the other, we want to get maximum length in our spine so that then we're rotating with that length. So we're not sort of aggravating or twisting or putting too much pressure on those joints. We've got lots of space between the joints, and then we're just rotating. So what we're going to explore today, we'll do it with the chair, is how we're going to twist without using our arms. And then you just put your arms in place to hold you in there, rather than getting the arms in and then using the arms to kind of push you deeper into a twist, which might be contraindicated for poses for your spine. So in taking care of the spine. So how do we build back bone strength? We're going to look at keeping the spine neutral. We're going to look at, how we can use props. We're going to start by opening up the feet, though, because I think the feet are really important, because the more malleable your feet are, the more flexible you are, the more your feet are going to be able to feel the ground, feel the earth, and we're less likely to trip or fall. So if you have osteoporosis or metastases to the bone, anything where there may be a risk of fracture, we want to try and keep ourselves as flexible as we can and as mobile as we can. And so part of that is going to be looking at opening up the feet so the feet can move and we can feel more connected to the earth. We're going to explore resisting gravity. And just noticing, how it's more challenging, actually, I think, when we move really slowly, when we're resisting gravity. We'll look at how different poses put different force on different bones. And then we're going to look at balancing postures, but balancing with movement, because I think that's how it applies to life. We're more likely to fall or to trip when we're actually moving around, not when we're trying to be still. So we're going to actually just have a play with some things that will help us to balance, but with movement, so that we can use that in our life. We're also going to look at how some of the poses that will be better for strengthening the bones will be poses where they're dynamic, i.e. you're moving in and out of a pose. So example I might give, quite an easy one, is say warrior 3 or warrior 2s, for example. So just moving in and out of the pose. You're getting the muscles moving, they're lengthening, and then they're contracting. So they're sort of moving through their full range of motion. And that this gives us, they're going to have more pull on the bone and therefore more bone building strength. The final thing we're going to do in this workshop, in case you're wondering whether it's all going to be really hard work, is we're going to look at restorative poses, because we know that when we have high levels of cortisol, so cortisol is released when our bodies go into that more fight or flight side of the nervous system, so the sympathetic side of the nervous system. When our bodies go into defending itself, which it does when we're stressed or anxious or fearful, we release cortisol. And we know that when we're releasing things like cortisol, the body isn't able to fully repair itself. So it's not repairing. And we know that it's preventing the osteoblasts from building more bone cells. So we do want to reduce cortisol so that our body isn't bypassing some of these important repair sides to its processes. So we really do want to give the body a chance to relax, to restore, to renew, and to allow the body to go back to stimulating osteoblasts and building bone. So we will definitely be ending with some nice restorative poses today, so that you can explore that relaxation. So the first thing we might do is start by opening up the feet. Now you can do this sitting on your chair, or you could do it sitting on the floor. And what we're going to do, and I'll come close so you can see. You're going to take hold of your foot, and first of all, take hold of your big toe in one hand, your other 4 toes in the other hand, and just move them forward and back in opposition to each other. So just moving the toes forward, moving the toes back, And just starting to get the toes into flexion and extension. And then you're going to take big toe and the one next to it together, the other three in the other hand. And then again, just moving them forward and back, forward and back. And you can do this fast if your feet are cold to warm them up. And then you're going to move along, big toe, second toe, third toe in one hand, baby in the one next to it in the other hand. And again, just move them forward and back, forward and back. And then finally, just a little toe by itself, the other toes in the other hand, and you're just moving forward and back, forward and back. And then this might be the most challenging thing we do a workshop. Can you slide your fingers in between your toes? So probably from the opposite hand. Then once you've got your fingers in between your toes, and again, you might be sitting on the floor, you might be sitting on your chair. Can you now just close and open your toes by opening up your fingers and closing them? So you just spread the fingers wide, your toes are open. Now close them and try to squeeze your fingers, and then spread the fingers wide and open up the toes, and then squeeze. And then just close your hand around your foot, and can you just circle your toes? So we're not moving the whole foot, we're just trying to just circle the toes. So again, the more malleable the feet are, the more we're connected to the earth, the more likely we are to feel our feet, and the more flexible we are, the less likely we are to be able to fall. Change the direction. And our feet should really work like our hands do. Unfortunately, we put them into shoes and they move around as one big unit. So just sort of freeing up the foot a little bit, so just circling the other way. And then you could just give the ankle a little circle. So you use your hand to just draw a circle with your ankle one direction, and then change direction and go the other way. And then you can just release out your feet and just feel the difference in your 2 feet. Like mine are actually even different colors right now. But just feel whether there's more space in one foot. Does it feel a little bit more open, more malleable, more connected, maybe when you bring your feet back down to the earth? And then we'll just change sides. So again, you're starting by holding onto your big toe with one hand, the other 4 toes in the other hand, and moving them forward and back. So just, and again, if it's cold, definitely muscles and connective tissue don't glide quite in the same way when we're cold. So you might move a little faster if you're cold. And then take the big toe and the one next to it in one hand, your other 3 toes in the other hand. And again, you're just moving them forward and back in opposition to each other. So just forward and back, forward and back. And then big toe, second toe, third toe in one hand, the other 2 little toes in the other hand. And again, just moving them forward and back. And then last movement of this, you've got 4 toes in one hand, the baby toe by itself. You just move them forward and back in opposition to each other. And then the most challenging thing, again, trying to get the fingers in between the toes. And once you have your fingers in between your toes, can you spread your fingers wide and open your toes? And then can you try to squeeze your fingers? So just squeeze your fingers with your toes, and then spread your toes wide, open up the toes. And then try to squeeze your fingers. And then spread your toes wide, open up your toes. And then squeeze your fingers. And again, just close your hand around your foot. And now can you just give your toes a little circle? So you're just circling the toes in one direction. And then circle your toes, and you're just going to go the other way. And then the final thing you might do is just give the whole of the ankle. So you circle the whole foot, just give it a little circle in one direction. And then change the direction and just circle the other way. And then again, just release that, just notice the difference in your feet. So now maybe they feel a little bit more balanced. Okay, and then we're going to come down onto our back. So I'm just going to adjust. You don't need to have any blankets. You don't need to have anything. We definitely don't want anything underneath the head, but you might want your strap handy. So you've got your strap handy when you come down onto your back. Nothing underneath the head to begin with. And you're just going to have your knees bent as you come to lie down. Just take a moment here and let's just find our breath. So again, remember, part of helping the bones is to lower cortisol levels. So often when we're breathing, when we're stressed and we're scared and we're fearful, we're breathing into the upper body. So let's just for a moment take your hands to your belly. Can you feel the breath move down into your belly? Can you feel your belly rise as you breathe in and your belly fall as you breathe out? So again, belly rising on your inhale and belly falling on your exhale. And can you just, for the next couple of rounds of breath, just count your breath in and count your breath out. So just counting the breath in and counting the breath out. And see if you can start to shift your count. So you breathe in and breathe out to about the same count. So you're just counting your breath in. So if you breathe in for 2, you're breathing out for 2. If you breathe in for 3, you're breathing out for 3. You breathe in for 4, you're breathing out for 4. So it doesn't really matter what the number is, but we just want to try and get the breath even and balanced. So you're breathing in and you're breathing out to about the same count. And then we're just going to try to keep that same smooth quality of breath. So even as we add more movement, or even if the poses become more challenging, we can still keep that same quality of breath. So again, we're still calming the nervous system. We're putting ourselves back into that rest and digest mode so our body can restore. We want restoring. We don't want our bones to be depleted. We want them to be restored. So we want to keep the same quality of breath. So anytime you notice that you're wandering off somewhere else, the mind gets distracted, you're just going to bring it back gently to that smooth, fluid, even breath in and even breath out. Now take your arms down by your side, and now we're just going to sort of explore a little bit of movement in our pelvis. So as you breathe in, can you feel like your pubic bone travels away from your head? Your pelvis slightly tips forward, and if you were to take your hand underneath your lower back, there'd be a little arch there now. And then as you exhale, can you flatten your lower back to the floor and draw your pubic bone and your pelvis sort of towards your head? Breathe in, pubic bone away from you, little arch in the lower back. Exhale, pubic bone towards you, and you flatten the lower back. So just do that a few more times. Inhale, pubic bone away from you. Exhale, as you flatten the lower back, pubic bone travels towards you. Inhaling, pubic bone away from you. And then as you exhale, pubic bone towards you. So you're just rocking your pelvis, tipping it forward and then tipping it back. And just sort of notice that movement, little movement into the pelvis. And what you might feel is you might even feel some movement further right. You might just feel your chin draws in slightly and then maybe your chin comes away from your chest. This is very subtle, so it might be a little harder to feel. So we're putting our spine into flexion when our spine touches the floor, and then you're going into a little arch, which is called extension, when your spine comes away from the floor. Can you now find somewhere just in the middle? So you just find somewhere in the middle, so you're not flattening your lower back, keeping the spine really neutral. And so now you're experiencing your neutral feeling of spine. So the rib cage is on the floor, the pelvis is pressing into the floor, but there might be some space at your lower back. It may be, depending on the curve of your lower back, that your lower back is actually touching the floor, but it's not actively being pushed down in towards the floor like we felt when we were sort of rocking our pelvis forward and back. So we're just finding somewhere in the middle. Now, with that neutral spine, we're just going to explore again. We have this force of gravity pushing us down. So anytime we lift up away from the floor, we're resisting gravity. Gravity's trying to push us down and we're lifting up. So we're just going to push down with our feet and see if we can just lift your hips up away from the floor, a little bit like an elevator. And then as you exhale, you're just going to lower back down. So push down with your feet, you're going to breathe in, you're going to lift your hips. And then as you exhale, you're going to lower back down. So anytime we're lifting up away from the floor, we're working muscles at the back of the leg and you're sort of lengthening muscles at the front of the body. So muscles at the back of the leg are kind of contracting to lift you up, and the muscles at the front of the body are lengthening. So again, all these muscles are tugging on the bone as we're working and stimulating those osteoblasts, those bone building cells. And I think this is a really good pose to do also, because it stretches out and lengthens your hip flexors, which go from your thigh bones to the spine. And so again, it's quite strengthening for the spine, which we definitely want to look at things that help strengthen the spine. Next time you lift up, just pause for a moment. So again, we don't want to change the shape of our spine. We're trying to keep the spine in neutral. You can just push down with your feet, and just for a moment, just gently clench your bottom. So you feel like, okay, that's my glutes, my bottom muscles working, really important muscles to be working. See if you can then, instead of your bottom being squeezed like a raisin, can you feel like you can still get the muscle working without that feeling of clenching? The muscle is working at the back of the body. Take another full breath in, and try to stretch your knees away from your chest. And then as you exhale, you're just going to lower everything back down. And then just draw your right knee in towards you. Hug your right knee in. And then you're just going to take hold of your belt or your strap and put it over the ball of your right foot, and just extend your right leg up into your scarf or your belt. And you can either here rest your elbows on the floor, or you can stretch your arms up. But see if you can keep your shoulder blades on the mat. And you can keep the left knee bent, or some of you might find it's very comfortable to straighten out the left leg. Again, can you keep neutral spine here? So put the weight back into your pelvis, a little bit of space at the lower back. And now just exploring, are you feeling any muscles stretching? So there's only so many muscles in the body. There's lots of different ways we can stretch them. But again, we're often trying to target certain areas of the body. And that's the great thing about yoga, and that often the areas of the body that are most prone to fracture are the top of the thigh bone. So which we would say with someone fractures or breaks their hip, that's the very top of the thigh bone. Wrists also, and thoracic bit of your spine, that's where your rib cage is. So we can really target stretches to tug on the bones around those areas. So for example, right now, when you're stretching out your hamstring is running and attaching to the sitting bones, so the very bottom of your pelvis. We're also going to look at muscles that stretch and attach to the side of the femur. So again, just tugging all around the femur to sort of strengthen this area here, which is really important for us when we want to strengthen areas of bones that might have become a little bit weaker or maybe prone to fracture. So see if you can put a bend into your left knee if you straightened your left leg, and then get rid of your strap and just cross your right ankle over your left thigh. See if you can slide so you're above your ankle bone. Take your arms down by your side for a moment. Take a breath in, and as you exhale, press your left knee in towards you. And then inhale, lower your left foot back down to the mat. And as you exhale, press your left knee in. So just do that a couple more times, and just exploring, when you draw your knee in, are you aware of maybe stretches around the outer sort of bottom area? So again, around that outer hip, we know that they're going to be sort of tugging on the femur, the thigh bone, and as they tug on the thigh bone, we know that's going to be helping build strength. Next time you draw the knee in towards you, you can either reach through and catch hold of the back of that left leg. If that doesn't work for your chest or your shoulders, you can use your strap and feed your strap through the legs, or you can keep the foot on the floor or elevate the foot. You can put something underneath it. And then here, just rock a little from side to side and just notice, do you feel different muscle fibers getting a stretch when you tip a little over to the left? So I feel like the stretch goes a little bit higher. So again, just targeting different areas as we move. So just a little rock side to side here. Again, just exploring how just stretching can help to strengthen those bones, because we're pulling on the bones, the tendons as they attach, where they attach the bone, they're just gently tugging on the bones to help to build that bone strength. And then just release the left foot back down to the floor, uncross the legs, and now hug your left knee in towards you. Take your strap over the ball of your left foot, extend your left leg up into the strap. And again, just check, have you got weight in your pelvis, some space at your lower back, or it's just not being squashed to the floor? And then feel your rib cage, that's definitely connected to the mat, and then feel the back of your head. So the neck and the lower back are in there, we're in natural curve. So the neck is also quite important because we spend a lot of our day often with our head slightly forward. So just for a moment, slightly press the back of your head just gently into the mat. You might almost feel the muscles at the back of your neck lift a little bit. So you might feel the back of the neck lift away from the floor, and then just release. And do that one more time. Push the back of your head into the floor. So feeling muscles at the back of the neck working. Those ones that aren't working, they're getting lengthened when we're maybe taking our head forward on our computers or our iPhones. And then just release. And then just exploring the stretch again. You can straighten out the right leg. You could keep the right knee bent. Again, can you get both your shoulder blades on the floor? And just explore again, where are you feeling the stretch? Back of the leg. And just breathing in fully, breathing out fully. So come back to the count of your breath. And then you're going to let go of the strap, cross now that left ankle over right thigh. See if you can slide so you're above your ankle bone, arms down by your side. Take a breath in. And then as you exhale, firm the belly as you draw the right knee in towards you. Inhale as you lower the foot back down. And then exhale as you draw the knee in towards you. Inhale, lower back down. So again, just noticing what muscles do you feel working? What muscles are getting a stretch? And then next time you feel the right knee drawing in, you could stay, and muscles could be doing the work to draw the knee in, or you might reach through, hold on to the back of the leg, your strap, or you could keep the foot on the floor or put a yoga brick underneath your foot. And again, here, just exploring, what does it feel like when you rock? And do you get different stretch sensations when you tip slightly to the right? So again, it's interesting to know that we can sort of slightly change where we feel the stretch. And again, noticing if this is an area of the body that might be tight. So we just want to sort of ease out into it. Staying with your breathing, just breathing in fully and breathing out fully. And still trying to keep a sense of the natural curve of your spine. So also notice when you hug the right knee in, are you flattening now the lower back? Can you put more weight back into your pelvis so you don't feel like you're sort of squashing the lower back down to the floor? And just take a couple more breaths here. Breathing in fully, breathing out fully. And then as you release, right foot back down to the mat, uncross the legs. And then you're just going to roll onto one side, and we're just going to come up for a moment to sit. I'm not going to stay very long seated, but I want you to just put a bend in your knees and just hold on to the backs of your legs. And can you feel you can sort of tip forward and rock back or go side to side on your sitting bones? That's the very bottom of our pelvis. So now we've got a little bit of force on our sitting bones. Can you lean back a little bit? And when you lean back, again, we're trying to avoid rounding the spine. So can you feel like you want to press your shoulder blades forward into your chest, lift your chest, and feel like the lower back slightly travels forward. And then lift your feet away from the floor. Push down into the mat with your heels and try to pull your heels towards you without them necessarily having to move that much. And do you feel your tummy muscles working a little bit here? So I've got tummy muscles working. Now you might decide this is enough, you're just going to stay here. Or you might find you can bring one forearm on top of the other. Again, keep dragging your heels in towards you. Take a breath in. And then as you exhale, take a little twist to the right. Inhale, come back to center. And then as you exhale, take a little twist to the left. You might feel muscles on the sideways working. Inhale, come back through center. Push down with your heels. Pull your heels towards you so you're keeping your tummy muscles working. And then as you exhale, little twist to the right. Inhale, come back through center. Exhale, little twist to the left. So again, all these little muscles that run alongside the spine are getting a bit of a stretch now. Inhale as you come back through center. Exhale, bring your hands back, soles of the feet back down to the mat. And now swing your feet round and we're going to come onto all fours. So we're trying to keep that same neutral spine that we had when we're lying on our back. So when you come onto all fours, you can just check here. You can sort of sag towards the floor and notice, okay, that's definitely not neutral curves of the spine. Or you can really round your spine and like, that's not your neutral curves. So again, find somewhere in the middle. So the back feels flat, but we know it's not completely flat. And now just notice you've got weight going on the knees, the shins, and the fronts of the feet. And now we've got a little bit of weight bearing on the hands. If this feels too much for anyone, you can change the angle slightly by putting a blanket underneath your wrists. So your blankets, your wrists are on the blanket, but your fingers are off the blanket. You could also do any of these things on your forearms if it's too much for the wrist. So firm the belly, keep that feeling of a neutral spine, and just slide your right leg back and just notice what that feels like. So you've got sort of plank really in the right side of your body. And check you haven't swung your hip over to the left, because another thing about balancing is we want to stabilize. We don't want to sit in any of our joints. And then bring the right knee back down to the mat. And now slide your left leg back. So notice, did your hip swing to the right? Can you hug in? So you're not sitting in that right hip. And then bring your left knee back down to the mat. And now slide your right leg back, and can you slide your left hand forward without changing the shape of your spine? And then as you exhale, bring your hand and your knee back. And then inhale, slide your left leg back and right hand forward. And then as you exhale, bring the hand and the knee back down. Now we're going to take it to a little bit more of a balance. So again, you're going to be lifting gravity. It's going to be pushing you down. You're going to be lifting away from gravity. So again, bone strengthening. So as you breathe in, slide your right leg back, left arm forward, and just see what it feels like to pick up the right leg. So you're now balancing. Have you swung over to the left? Can you hug your left outer thigh in? Maybe pick up the left hand as well. It's going to be even more of a balance now. And then as you exhale, hand and the knee come back down. Inhale, slide left leg back, right arm forward. And again, see what it feels to pick up the leg. Have you changed the shape of your spine? Have you swung the hips out to the right? Maybe you add on lifting the right hand. And then exhale, hand and the knee come back down. So inhale, right leg, left arm. Again, option to keep them on the mat or to float them so you're balancing. As you exhale, come all the way back down. Inhale, left leg, right arm. And remember, when you're balancing now, you've got more body weight going through the bits that are on the floor. Exhale as you come back down. Inhale, right leg, left arm. So there's more weight in my right wrist and my left shin than there was when everything was on the floor. Inhale, left leg, right arm. So again, that force is stimulating your bones. Exhale as you come back down. One more on each side. So inhale, right leg, left arm. Exhale as you lower everything back down. Inhale, left leg, right arm. And then exhale as you lower everything down. And then can you just tuck your toes under for a moment and walk your hands back towards your knees and get a little toe stretch. So again, sort of strengthening around the feet area, really important. Hands can stay on the mat. Some of you might find you can walk your hands onto your thighs. Notice if your heels kind of splay out away from each other. See if you can hug your heels in. And then just breathe in fully and breathe out fully here. Just take a couple more breaths. So again, option with hands can obviously be on the floor. And then we're just going to explore. We really want to use our legs and not our lower back to come up to stand. So there's a couple of ways you can come up to stand. So probably from the position we're in right now, you could pick up your knees and lift your knees. And so you start to see if you can come into a bit of a squat. So you could always be next to a wall and hold on to something. And then you can find your spines nice and long and just use just your legs to bring you all the way up to stand. Now, if that's a challenge and you know you're not going to be able to come up like that, keeping the knees down, just step 1 foot forward, hands on your front thigh, step the other foot forward, come through a sort of chair, and again, use your legs, push down with your feet to bring you up to stand. Just going to adjust my camera angle. Okay, so now we've come up to stand. We know we can move in a way here that's going to help to build bone strength. So again, anytime we're balancing, remember, it's going to be building bone strength. Anytime our muscles are working, anytime we're getting a stretch, it's going to be helping to build bone strength. But we want to move in a safe way. So first of all, let's look at our forward fold. So when we forward fold, what we want to avoid doing is this sort of rounding. So this is putting a lot of pressure on the vertebrae. With gravity kind of pulling you down to the floor, it's putting too much pressure on the vertebrae. So, and you're more likely to fracture the front of the vertebrae. So when you forward fold, it puts more pressure on the front of the vertebrae. That's why I want to forward fold, keeping neutral spine. So I've got the chair here just because the chair brings the floor a little higher. This could be yoga blocks if you have yoga blocks. And if you're more flexible in your hamstrings, you might find you eventually don't need chairs, but we'll start with the chair to begin with, just because it's going to give us a little bit more support. And we're just going to, work the legs for a moment, just so we can really start to feel the legs working. This is what we're getting, is going to be important for bringing us back up. So we're just going to bend our knees, sit into an imaginary chair, and breathe in, sweep the arms forward, and then push down with your feet, press and rise as you come up to stand. So bend your knees, breathe in, sweep the arms forward, Exhale, press and rise as you come up to stand. So can you do all of this, but while still keeping your spine neutral? So again, we're not tucking, we're not overarching the back either. You're just breathing in, arms reach forward, and then press and rise as you come up to stand. And just 2 more like that. So again, can you feel muscles working? Are you heavier in one foot than the other? Just also noticing that. Maybe push with your heavier foot to get weight in your light foot. Now this time, bend your knees, reach your arms forward. Can you keep your spine long as you tip further forward? So just tipping further forward, but your spine stays the same. And then find your chair. Or again, it could be yoga blocks, could be a little bit lower. Now push down to the balls of your feet and start to lift your sitting bones up. Your legs will start to straighten, but we're not changing the shape of our spine. So if you find that by straightening your legs, you then end up rounding your spine, you definitely want to put the bend back into your knees. And again, some of us might find our hamstrings a little bit more flexible. You might be able to come closer to blocks or to the floor. And then here, just check in again. Can you find the neutral curves of your spine? And remember, to come out, what we do want to use our legs. So to come out of the pose, we're going to bend our knees, use our leg strength, push down through your feet, breathe in as you come up to stand, and then exhale as you lower your arms down. So bend your knees, sit back into your imaginary chair, fold at the tops of thighs, spine stays long, hands come down to your chair, push down at the balls of the feet to come into your forward fold. So your legs start to straighten, but you're not changing the shape of your spine. And then to come out, you're going to bend your knees, you're going to sit back into your imaginary chair, and then you're going to press and rise as you come all the way up to stand, and then exhale as you lower your arms down. And then let's just have a play with balancing and what we're looking at. So we're going to add on to this now, but what we want to do when we balance is not sit in our hips. So just for a moment, bend one knee and just notice how you can just sort of collapse into one hip, and then bend the other knee and collapse into the other hip. So this is quite comfortable. You know, if you're generally standing like waiting for a bus or at a drinks party, you're going to probably stand more likely on one leg than the other leg. And this feels pretty comfortable. And what's happening when we're sitting like this is we're sort of sitting in the joint. And what we want to do, our muscles help us lift out of our joints. So we do want to use muscles to lift us out of the joint. So we're not collapsing in the joint. So we want to use those muscles to, again, muscles are tugging on the bones, stimulating the bones rather than just sitting in the joints, which can end up with a bit of wear and tear, which we want to try and avoid. So we're just going to try, when we balance, to try and not end up sitting in the joints. And we want to keep our neutral curves of our spine. So take one hand to the bottom part of your ribs, one hand just above your pubic bone. And I want you to take a breath in. And when you breathe out, you're going to make a shh sound. So take a breath in. Shh. And as you should, you gently bring the hands slightly towards each other. So you feel your tummy muscles working, but not so that you round your spine. And then take a full breath in. And as you exhale, make the shh. So you're bringing the tummy, engaging the tummy muscles, slightly bringing the ribs in, pubic bone towards your belly button. One last time, take a breath in. And then as you exhale, shh. And then take a breath in. This time as you exhale with that shushing sound, can you put the weight into your left foot and pick up your right knee? So shh. Inhale as you lower the foot back down, weight goes into your right foot. And then as you exhale, shh, as you pick up your left knee. One more on each side. So try and incorporate our thigh muscles to help pick up the knee. So as you exhale, shh. Inhale as you lower back down. And then exhale, shh. Inhale, lower back down. And now take the arms down by your side. As you breathe in, float the arms forward and up. And then as you exhale, lower the arms down and pick up your right knee. And then inhale, sweep the arms up. And as you exhale, slightly firm the belly and pick up your left knee. So just starting to balance, but again, just incorporating the core. And notice every time you balance, you're just lifting up one leg, you're balancing on the opposite foot. There's more force going down through that leg. So it's a little bit more challenging for the bones. There's more force on the bones. So that's helping to stimulate the bones. Inhale as you float the arms all the way up. And then exhaling as you pick up the knee. One last time, breathing in, float the arms forward and up. And then as you exhale, you're going to pick up that knee. Inhale, float the arms back up. And then exhale as you lower the arms down. So let's try that with some movement. So standing at the front of your mat, feet hip distance apart, and you can have the chair there. So you've always got the chair there if there's any, if you need any support for balance. Keep your right foot forward and just step your left foot back. And just check that there's space between your feet. So it's like you're on train tracks rather than standing on a tightrope. And then you're just going to put a bend in your right knee. Breathe in as you sweep your arms forward and up. And then as you exhale, firm the belly, pick up the back foot and see if you can draw the knee in towards you. And again, it might be that the foot stays close to the floor. Breathe in as you step back. So as you exhale, firm the belly. Maybe again, the foot stays close to the floor. Maybe you pick up the knee. And then inhale as you step gracefully back. So as you exhale, come into balance, but from movement. Inhale as you step back. 2 more like that. Exhale as you come to balance, and then inhale as you step back. Last time. Exhale, and then inhale as you step back. Exhale as you lower your arms down, step forward to the front of the mat. Take your hands to your hips for a moment, just give your hips a little circle, so just circling the hips in one direction. And then change the direction and go the other way. Perfect. And then we change sides. So left foot forward, step your right foot back. As you breathe in, bend your left knee, sweep the arms forward and up. Exhale again. Remember, it's coming from the tummy. As you exhale, can you draw your right knee forward and maybe pick up your right knee? Inhale as you step gracefully back. And then as you exhale, can you pick up that right knee? Inhale as you step gracefully back. Exhale, picking up the knee. 2 more like that. Inhale, stepping back. Exhale. Inhale. And then exhale. Perfect. And then breathe in, you're going to step back. As you exhale, step back up to the front of your mat. And just pause for a moment. Again, feel both your feet. You might even lift up your toes and spread them. So feel really grounded. And then you're just going to put weight into your left foot. Can you just pick up your right knee and just start to draw some circles? So again, just check you haven't sort of collapsed into your hip. We do want to hug this outer hip in. And we're just drawing some circles here with that knee. So again, we're working muscles. So as the knee goes out, we're working the muscles around the hip area. So we're sort of stabilizing around that hip area. Change the direction of your circles, go the other way. And again, they can be really small and your foot could be just really close to the floor. So we can always adapt everything. And then change sides. And if you need more support, have the wall behind you or your chair. And as you balance, just notice your foot. So again, we're starting to get used to standing on one leg with a bit of movement. So it does make it more challenging. And again, trying to get muscles working around the hip area as we circle the knee. And then just change the direction and go the other way. So you're just circling the knee the other way. Lovely. Check you're still breathing. And then bring the foot back down. And then we'll just have a little play at balance. So again, now we have a pose where we come into staying static. So again, we just want to check we don't end up sitting in the hip. You're going to pick up your right knee. And you might, again, keep your foot really close to the floor. Some of you might pick up the knee a little higher. Check with your hands on your hips. You haven't used your hip to pick up that knee. And just press your knee out. And again, just check. Take your right hand. Feel your bottom. Are those muscles working? So are you using the muscles to help take the knee out, or are you moving your whole pelvis? And then you can bring your foot either above the knee or below the knee, or you could slide the foot down so just your heel is lifted. And again, just check though that that didn't push you into your left outer hip. Hug it in. And now turn your palms forward. We're just going to move really slowly with gravity. So as you breathe in, float your arms up. So see again, it might take a few breaths to come up. And then as you breathe out, lower your arms down. And again, this might take a few breaths, but notice how hard it is when you're moving slowly. So gravity is trying to push my arms down and I'm slowly, slowly, slowly resisting gravity to lower my arms down at a really slow speed. We're going to do that one more time. So breathing in, and again, we might be taking a few breaths to come up. And actually, sometimes the going up is a little easier than the coming back down. On your next exhale, can you start to lower the arms down, but again, really, really slowly. So again, notice how hard it is to resist the pull of gravity, which wants to just push your arms down really fast, but you're resisting that as you lower your arms all the way down. And then release your foot. Sometimes it feels nice to shake out the legs. You might do that. And then we're just going to change sides. So weight's going to go onto your opposite foot. Turn the knee out, or pick up the knee and then turn the knee out. Again, just check left hand to your bottom. Can you feel muscles working to press the knee out? So you're not turning your pelvis to take the knee out. And then either foot is above the knee, below the knee, or you slide it down. So you've got just your heel lifted. Again, did your foot push you into your hip? Hug your leg and your foot together. Turn your palms forward. And again, really slowly, taking the arms up. So again, balancing is more challenging when we're moving with it. So you might find that challenging. Again, you can have the wall right behind you, or you could just be doing one arm at a time, and obviously you change it with the other side. So just really slowly taking the arms up. Again, notice how much challenging it is. Oh, it's so much harder. And then as you exhale, again, can you resist gravity as you slowly, slowly, slowly lower your arms back down? Lovely. And shake out the legs. And then just for a moment, just give your self a little pulse. So you're just lifting the heels and patting the heels, and you're just bouncing. Now this movement, I think, is quite stimulating as well. So if you're ever a bit low on energy, just having little bounces like this can be quite stimulating to the body. What you do when you bounce up and down like this is you create little stresses to the bone. So these are good stresses. And the little stresses to the bone, again, are stimulating. They're stimulating those osteoblasts to build more bones. So we're building more bones. We're just bouncing up and down. And just do this for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then just stop for a moment and just pause. So just noticing, again, muscles working in the body, maybe sort of movement in the body can be really nice. Okay, we're going to do one more standing posture. So similar sort of balance to the one we were doing when we were on all fours, but now we're going to do it from a standing position. And again, you can use desks, tables, lower blocks if that works for you. Stand in front of your chair and just put a bend into your knees. And again, remember, we're folding at the tops of the thighs as you fold forward. Hands are going to come down to your chair, and you want to find that you've got a neutral spine. So the back feels flat, even though you know it's not completely flat. And then weight's going to go into your left foot. Can you start to drag your right leg back? Check you're not starting to swing out into your left outer hip. And then just notice, can you pick your right foot away from the floor without changing the shape of your spine? And then bring the foot back down. And now put the weight into that foot, and then drag your left leg back and see if you can lift up your left leg from the inner thigh rather than the outer thigh, or rather than the foot. And then exhale, lower back down. That's a little bit more challenging maybe to feel. So you feel like as you drag your right leg back, you're lifting it from the inner thigh as you float the leg all the way up. And then as you exhale, just lower it all the way back down. Now drag your left leg back without changing the shape of your spine. And then lower your left leg back down. And one more on each side. So drag your right leg back. Again, without changing the shape of your spine, feeling all those muscles working on the back of the leg and the bottom. So again, around the top of the femur, the pelvis area. And then lower the leg back down. Remember to come out of the pose, we want to use our legs. So bend your knees like you're coming out of a chair. Push down with your feet, press and rise as you come up to stand. And then we're just going to try that with a little bit more movement. So step a little bit closer to the chair. Step your left foot back. So right foot is forward, left foot is back. And then you're going to bend your right knee. Breathe in as you reach your arms forward and up. As you exhale, can you keep the spine long, hands to the chair, and just pick up that left leg. Rebend your right knee, step back, long spine as you breathe in, reach the arms forward and up. As you exhale, hands to the chair, weight to your right foot as you pick up your left leg. Bend your right knee, breathe in, sweep the arms forward and up. And then exhaling, hands to the chair, and you're just going to pick up that left leg. And then lower your left leg down alongside your right leg. Bend both knees. And again, use the strength of your legs, not your lower back, to bring you up to stand. Changing sides, left foot forward, step your right foot back. As you bend your left knee, breathe in, sweep the arms forward and up. And then as you exhale, spine stays long as your hands come to the chair. Weight into your left foot as you pick up your right foot. Bend the left knee, step gracefully back. Inhale. So always keeping that neutral curves of the spine. Picking up the back leg. Bend the left knee, last time. Inhale. And then as you exhale, hands to the chair. Pick up the right leg. And then bend both knees so you come back to your imaginary chair. Again, use your legs. So if you're not sure, take your hands off the chair and onto your thighs. And then push down with your feet, come all the way up to stand. Then we're going to take our chair now for a little twist. So again, what we're trying to do when we twist is we're trying to keep the spine really long. So we want to lengthen up. So just check when you're sitting, again, that you're not in natural curves, that you haven't lost the natural curves of your spine. So you want to feel that your lower back slightly travels forward and that your crown of the head is lengthening up. And again, that the head hasn't come forward. So make sure you take your face back. And then with your long spine, as you breathe in, sweep the arms forward and up and really find lots of length and space in your spine. So feel like you're lengthening up through the crown of your head. As you exhale, just bend your elbows, make a little goalpost shape. So remember, we want to use tummy muscles and breath to help us to twist rather than any force. So take a breath in, and then as you exhale, can you take a little twist to the right? Inhale, come back through center. Exhale, belly naturally draws in and up when we exhale. That helps us to rotate now to the left. Inhale, come back through center. And then as you exhale, little rotation to the right. Inhale, come back to center. So we're just moving with the breath and using tummy muscles. And we're not using the force of our arms. Now this time as you twist to the right, I'm just going to turn around so you see, so you've twisted to the right. Now you can use your arms to just help you hold in place. So right hand goes behind you, maybe to the back of your chair or your chair seat, and left hand can come across to your right knee, or it might stay on your left knee. Slightly bend your elbows, just check your shoulders haven't ended up by your ears, and then just turn your chin for a moment from one shoulder to the other, like you're saying no. And then you're just going to stay in the twist, but you're just going to turn so you're looking forward. And again, maybe just check knees don't knock in towards each other, press down into the feet. Is the spine still in neutral? Do you feel like as you relax, or maybe you start to round your spine? So feel those sitting bones lengthen up, lower back slightly travels forward. Shoulder blades can press a little bit forward towards your chest to feel that your chest is really nice and broad here. Take one more full breath in. And then as you exhale, you can just release and come out. Breathe in, float the arms forward and up. So again, find that length. And then as you exhale, bend your elbows. So feel how broad your chest is. Feel your lower back traveling forward. So your weight is on your sitting bones rather than rolling back to your tailbone. Take a breath in. And again, exhale and rotate to the left. Inhale, come back through center. Exhale and rotate to the right. Inhale, come back through center. So can you feel it's your breath is moving you to the left? Inhale, you come back through center. Exhale, you rotate to the right. And then inhale as you come back through center. This time as you exhale to the left, you've got yourself already into your twist without your hands. Now you can take the hands just to hold you in place. So left hand goes back to the back of your chair or to the chair seat. And then right hand comes across to that left knee. Slightly bend your elbows so shoulders aren't up by your ears. And just turn your chin from one shoulder to the other. And then turn your gaze so you're looking to the right or sort of forward, not turning to the left. Slightly bend the elbows. And again, just check, are you still nice and long in your spine? So if you had a yoga brick on top of your head, could you push that yoga brick up towards the ceiling? Feel your lower back travel forward and find your breath into the back of the body. So imagine you had airbags at the back of your rib cage and you could sort of lift up and out of your lower back, broaden across your collarbones, and then take a full breath in and take a full breath out. And then just slowly releasing, coming back to center. Take a breath in, take a breath out. And just remind yourself, sort of take a mental snapshot of what it feels like to have the spine in neutral. So again, it's not that kind of really cozy position that we end up sometimes sitting on our sofas. It's really, you feel that you're on your sitting bones and the spine is nice and long, and that's your neutral spine, and that's how we're going to be, moving to keep it safe in yoga. Okay, so we're going to finish the workshop today with something nice and restorative. So you may already have an idea of something that you've done, or just lying completely flat on your mat to be restorative. I'm going to give you a couple of suggestions. One is elevating the legs higher than the heart, really quite calming for the nervous system. That can be done with your chair. So you can place your chair at the end of the mat, or it can be done with a wall. So you can either come to lie down and swing your legs over the chair. So you've got that really nice support here. Calves are resting on the chair seat. If you feel it's in your lower back, you could always put a blanket underneath the lower back area, pelvis area. Or you can try taking the legs up the wall. Now, I think the easiest way to get into this is to already sit really close to the wall sideways. So you're already up against the wall, you don't have too much shuffling to do. And then you can just swing the feet round and rest the legs up the wall. Now, if you find that your feet start to slide when you relax, you could even just put the belt and make a little loop in your belt and put it around your legs so your legs can relax out into the belt. That can be quite a nice option. Maybe blankets underneath the head, or even a blanket underneath the pelvis. And then you're just going to take a breath in through the nose, make a big sigh. So you really do let go. Just let go of anything you might be holding on to. So any judgments tonight about the workshop? Any judgment about the poses? Any judgment about your body? And just use your exhale as a way of letting go. So we just want to let go. And just come back to your breathing. So just come back for a moment to the focus on your breath. Now, if you were to take your pulse while you're in this restorative pose, what you might discover is that when you breathe in, your pulse rate speeds up slightly. And when you breathe out, your pulse rate slows down. So it just means that the exhale is part of our calming nervous system, our parasympathetic side of our nervous system. So sometimes when we want to try to really relax, we might try and lengthen our exhale a little bit. So what we're going to do right now is you're going to count your breath in and see if you can lengthen your exhale, maybe just by a count. So if you're breathing in for 3, just explore, can you breathe out for 4? Or maybe 5. So count your breath in. So you might be breathing in for 4 and out for 5, in for 3, out for 4. Don't worry too much on the counts, but we're just trying to lengthen the exhale a little bit. And you just find the count that works for you. We're all different. You're unique. And if you find the counting actually really challenging, one thing you can try now is humming. So humming naturally lengthens the exhale. It also is very soothing for the nervous system. So for example, cats purr, not only because they're happy, but that purring is very stimulating and creates a sort of massaging effect inside the body, especially to the vagus nerve, which is part of our parasympathetic side of our nervous system. It's responsible for having us calm and relax and rest and digest. So again, to put that body back into that restore, you could try humming. So you would just take a breath in. And then just exploring what were the effects of humming. So sometimes you feel kind of like tingling sensations in the mouth, the throat. Notice if there's a little bit more sense of our awareness being drawn inwards rather than outwardly focused, mind flitting off to various places. Just notice if there's a little bit more sense of peace or calm or stillness inside the body. Again, we stimulate that parasympathetic side of the nervous system. And if you find the mind's really busy, maybe the sound is a little bit more distracting, like it's harder to hum and be thinking at the same time. So you might find that the humming is quite a nice way of, just bringing you back, focus back in on the breathing. So you could hum at any point, just to, bring that awareness back. Now, you can spend as long as you want in your relaxation pose, so you don't have to finish with me. But if you're sticking sort of in the timeline of this workshop, you might start to now bring a little bit of movement back, wiggling fingers and wiggling toes. Maybe starting to stretch out through the arms and through the legs. Flexing, pointing the feet. And then bending the knees in towards you and just taking your time to roll to a side that's most comfortable for you to roll onto. And then taking your time again, pressing down with your top hand, find your way to come to sit. And as you come to sit, just take a moment here, just observe, just tune in. What are the effects of your practice tonight? And then just bringing the hands into prayer position, slightly bow your head. Take a moment today to give thanks. And may peace be above us, below us, and all around us. But most importantly, may peace be within us. And so with a quieter mind and an open heart, namaste.